Good evening. I'm Jack Warren. I'm the Executive Director of the Society of the Cincinnati, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to the first Catesby Jones Lecture, a new program of the American Revolution Institute of the Society of the Cincinnati, which will bring the best cutting-edge research on the Revolutionary War to you. We think we're starting out with a really wonderful installment here tonight. Before we get started, a couple people I'd like to introduce you to. As many of you know, as part of our broader mission to perpetuate the memory of the American Revolution, the Society has undertaken, in partnership with our friends at the Civil War Trust, to promote a national initiative, Campaign 1776, to preserve the surviving battlefields of our Revolutionary War. And we are joined this evening by some members of that team. I'd like to introduce you to them. Jim Lighthizer, who's the president. Will you gentlemen stand up for me? Let these people see you. David Duncan to his left and Frank DeLuca to his left. These guys have done extraordinary work in preserving battlefields of the Civil War, and now we've got them focusing on the far more important war in our nation's history. They've been at this for 15-odd years. They're finally beginning to see the light. And we're delighted that they are and delighted to put our shoulders to the wheel with them. This is not Anderson House, as you may have noticed. This is a different institution. I think I might tell you a bit about our venue tonight. This is the Carnegie Institution for Science. It was founded in 1902 by Andrew Carnegie when he started giving away his money in big gobs. Mr. Carnegie believed that it was wicked to die rich. And the first trustees of the Carnegie Institution for Science assured him that they would see to it he was not guilty of such a gross sin. He endowed this organization with an initial gift of $10 million. A couple of years later, he added 2 more, and 4 years later, he added 10 more. And that's back in the day when $22 million would actually buy you a fair amount. Quite extraordinary generosity, and created an amazing institution. The Carnegie Institution for Science is spread across the United States in 6 different departments in different locations. In Maryland and in Washington and in Stanford, California. They do all kinds of interesting things, which I've only just learned about, I confess. I'm not pretending I knew all of this before we came here. But among the people who have been intimately associated with this organization, Edwin Hubble, the great astrophysicist who revolutionized astronomy by discovering that the universe is constantly expanding and that there are galaxies beyond the Milky Way. Charles Richter, whose name you know, he's the developer of the Richter scale. Barbara McClintock, who won the Nobel Prize for her early work on genetics, and a really impressive list of others who've been working on DNA and RNA. Quite extraordinary stuff. It's amazing what you can do when people are really generous and will help you with research and promoting ideas. I think you get the theme. They've got departments all across the country, departments of embryology, of geophysics, of global ecology, terrestrial biology, and my favorite here in Washington, D.C., a department of terrestrial magnetism, doing advanced work. And at that point, it's my duty to introduce to you one of the most magnetic personalities on earth, our Vice President General, Jonathan Woods, who's going to introduce tonight's lecture and tonight's speaker.
Thank you, Jack. Good evening, everybody. Tonight's event honors 2 members of our One Society of Friends. These men served the Society of the Cincinnati in its highest office with honor and distinction. Catesby Catesby Jones, who served as President General of the Society from 1956 to 1959, and his son, Catesby Brooks Jones, who served as President General from 1983 to 1986. They are the only father and son to hold this highest office in our society. Catesby Jones was a member of an old Virginia family. Ap, in case you're wondering, is Welsh, and it means son of. The family has used this old Welsh naming convention since the 18th century. The elder Catesby was a colonel in the United States Army and has served in both world wars. He served the Society of the Cincinnati as a general officer and was president general from 1956 to 1959. His son, the late Catesby Brooks Jones, was a leader, mentor, and friend to many of us. A native of Richmond and a member of the Virginia Society, of which he served as president, Catesby was elected Vice President General in 1980 and assumed the office of President General in 1983. A banker by profession and organizer by nature, Catesby established the Executive Committee and made it an effective mechanism for making important decisions in the months between the Standing Committee and our Board of Director meetings. His tenure as President General ended in 1986, but he remained active in the leadership of the Society for the remaining 25 years of his life, in the last years as co-chairman of our Audit Committee. He was an unwavering proponent of fiscal discipline, the kind of discipline that many nonprofit institutions fail to maintain. It was also Catesby who brought me into the General Society. In 1990, my phone rang one morning, and it was Catesby, inviting me to join him on the Investment Committee. As a result of his encouragement, I have been fortunate enough to be involved with the General Society ever since. Catesby was also a supporter of the Society's mission to perpetuate the memory of the American Revolution. And when the decision was made to establish the American Revolution Institute of the Society of the Cincinnati, it was Catesby who wrote the first check. And I encourage all of you to follow his lead. His quiet, constant dedication to our society is a model and inspiration. Few men have given as much of their life to the service of our one society of friends. We lost Catesby in July of 2011, but we still enjoy the company of his charming wife, Barbara. She cannot be with us tonight, but she's here in spirit, and what a fine spirit it is. Tonight's event is being broadcast live and streamed over the internet, and I know she is watching. Please join me in honoring Barbara by standing up, turning around, and facing that back left corner, and giving her a round of applause, please. We are joined tonight by Catesby's son, aptly named Catesby Jones, and his wife Sarah, and their daughter Eliza. We are also joined by Catesby's daughter, Brooke Hodges, and her husband, Thomas Hodges, and their daughter Laura. And by Catesby's daughter, Elizabeth Hyatt, and her husband, Charles Hyatt. Catesby cared deeply about our society and was a strong supporter of our mission to perpetuate the memory of the American Revolution. So it's altogether proper that we remember him with a special lecture program focusing attention on the best work of the Revolution by its most talented scholars. Tonight's speaker is most definitely in this group of talented scholars. John Anthony Rodman is an assistant professor of history at Wake Forest University. He graduated summa cum laude from Princeton University in 2000 and earned his degree of Doctor of Philosophy and History from Yale University in 2010, where he studied under Professor Joanne Freeman. Professor Rodman's work has focused on the experience of young men who fought for the American cause in the Revolutionary War. Young men who reached adulthood at a time of conflict and set aside many of the usual pursuits of young adults to serve a cause. And he encountered challenges and opportunities no other generation of Americans had ever experienced to that date. His first book, Becoming Men of Some Consequence, Youth and Military Service in the Revolutionary War, was published late in 2014 by the University of Virginia Press. It has been widely praised as one of the most original works on the Revolutionary War. He is obviously at the start of a very splendid career. Please join me in welcoming Jake Rodman.